Video number 3, Attitude. Hi, my name is Philip Crone. This is my channel, Success, Hope, and Encouragement. You get Philip Crone in a suit today. That's not going to happen too much, but I happen to be out and about today, so here you go. So, wanted to do just a little bit of housekeeping on yesterday's video. I spoke about exercise and particularly the pain-pleasure principle, and as it applies to my jogging for 37 years in a row. I had a couple questions that came to me of how I can do it for this long. So I want to explain it this way. I talked in the last video about all the great benefits that I've gotten, particularly my confidence. And when we talk about pain, pleasure, it can be painful to exercise. But in my mind, and this is, I think, how you need to get your mind if you're actually going to get a positive habit into your life. It's more painful for me not to run than it is to run. So it's easier for me to run than it is not to run. And if you can get to that point in your life, that's how you can make these habits life-lasting. Because it is hard for people who may not be in shape or don't feel like it. But if you put yourself in my shoes, and here I am preaching about how many great benefits I've had from jogging for 37 years, that's a lot to lose. And if I stopped, number one, I'd be hypocritical. Number two, I feel like I'd get worse and worse and worse. But at any rate, hope that answers that question. Today's video is about attitude, and particularly tempers, which I think are toxic and very negative. So my story is, as I was growing up, and particularly when I graduated college, I realized I had a bad temper. I was searching for the secrets of success, and it became quite apparent to me that my temper was not making me successful. It was driving people out of my life. It was toxic, and I realized that I needed to fix something if I was going to be truly successful. And long story short, 30-something years ago, some things happened in my life that I'm not going to share here, that I said, I will never lose my temper again. And then I started to study the temper and how to overcome it, and all these books out there. And I'm going to share with you kind of my experience and how much joy I've brought into my life, as I really haven't lost my temper in 30 years now. And I have to give credit to controlling my attitude to my wife. Many years ago, she gave me a poem from Charles Swindoll. You can Google this. It's on the internet all over, and it's called Attitude. And the end of the poem, or saying, there was a line that really struck me and hit me hard. And it goes something like, life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it, and so it is with you. And I never realized that we can actually be in control of how we react to things. Most of us in life are just like animals, where if something bad happens, they're going to react the way the response is required. But I learned in business that this wasn't always a good thing, and it was actually a weakness. So I had to find a way to control my attitude. The other element here, as I say, we have all these building blocks of success. One thing that I'm a huge believer in is karma. And we could call this God's love, devil's hate. There's a lot of different words for it out there in the universe. There's good karma and there's bad karma. And I'm a huge believer that we're somewhat responsible for creating our own good and bad karma. And if I can be in a position where I can eliminate my bad karma, and this is much like yesterday's video of getting rid of bad habits, then that would be a good thing. Because it's tough out there in this world, and we need all the help we can get. So I wrote in my book, I kind of have a philosophy that good karma is much like life, and much like the title of my book, a little bit over a long period of time. It can come back to you and help you greatly, but it's kind of slow, and that's okay, and that's the way life should be. But bad karma, meaning, you do something to somebody, you say something to somebody that's very bad and evil, it can come back in a heartbeat. And if we can be in a position where we can prevent that from happening, then of course the good karma is going to take over and our lives can get better and better and better. So how do you do that? Well, before I get there, there's another element that I want to talk about, and it's kind of a simplistic success secret. And that is, I use the word hard or difficult. And it's interesting to me in life that almost everything that is very positive or good is very hard and difficult. It's hard to jog every day for 37 years. It's hard to control your attitude. However, if we can start embracing those terms, the rewards from those terms are unbelievable. And I think that's one of the keys of how we can become successful. So in my own story, I had to become very, very aware of my temper. And again, I had had such a loss in my life that I felt pain. So I didn't want to feel that pain anymore. And this gets back to that pain-pleasure principle. But I'm going to use the word, it was hard. It was hard. It's hard for all of us to control our attitudes. But number one, the step is becoming aware of it. And I think the other element that is you have to say to yourself, do I really want to be successful? And if you really want to be successful, then you need to buy in to all these theories that I'm talking about, particularly about karma and about life situations that we can control and we can't control. And I'll get into that in future videos of life situations that happen to us and how we can react to it, and how I put those situations into two different boxes. I call them box A and box B. So remember, when we're talking about controlling our attitude, and we're talking about choices, that if we really want to be successful, we have to choose not to lose our temper. Easier said than done. The biggest thing that I can impress upon you is we don't have to lose our temper. It's something that we choose to do. I think it's an incredible weakness, and I studied many years ago the famous samurai fighters from Japan, and they studied being still and being calm, and they knew even back then if they lost their temper, they would get their arms cut off. So I'm not saying we're going to get our arms cut off, but if you get my drift, that it's actually a strength to control your attitude versus lose it. The other thing that I have understood in life, and most psychologists I think know this, that when people lose their temper, there's a deeper problem going on. That normally it's a trigger that lets them lose their temper, and they're probably not happy. There's something that happened, and that's a topic for another day with a psychologist. But part of these videos, and what I think I'm going to try to pass along to all of you, is how to become happy, how to get rid of those past things that maybe can set you off. But in terms of being successful, I think one of the easiest things that you can do to change your life today is say to yourself, I'm never going to lose my temper again. It doesn't mean that we can't be aggressive. It doesn't mean that we can't be somewhat forceful. But as we all know, there's a line in the sand. And we see the road rage out there today. We see people saying things that they wish they hadn't, and regretting. And we want to live our life without a lot of regret. So this isn't something that can happen overnight. I did it. You can do it. I've brought so much joy and peace into my life. And most importantly, I don't have the regrets of saying things that I wish I hadn't. So I'll get into more of this in the future, but I want to get into a couple of other topics here that go along with temper that might help you keep your temper. So one of the little tricks that I use, I think I put it in my book, I call the idiot theory. I use the word idiot way too much in my book, but it's one of my favorite words, and I think part of life is just try not to become an idiot and you'll be successful. But anyway, I call this the idiot theory. We've all run into idiots, people with bad attitudes, bad tempers, and I think if you can start feeling sorry for people like that once you see them, because it's a fact that once these people who have bad attitudes or a bad temper run into other people with bad attitudes or tempers, it's a self-destructive situation, and normally they take care of themselves, and we don't have time for that. Those of us who are trying to be successful, trying to create a better life, we have to feel happy and have joy and love inside that we share with other people. And obviously losing your temper is not sharing a lot of joy and love. The other thing I want to say, and I've been a salesman most of my life, and you learn a lot about psychology. and my wife and I talk about this one an awful lot, that life, a big part of life is not what you say, but how you say it. Some people have this gift, some people don't have this gift. Some people in life just have the gift of upsetting people by just what they say. But if they'd said it with a different inflection or love in their voice, it probably wouldn't set that person off who is not in control of their attitude. So it is really a gift. Sometimes you need to listen to yourself. Think about things you're going to say that might be tough to people, whether it's your wife, spouse, job, boss. And many, many times we can accomplish what we want to accomplish by creating good karma, by saying something that's difficult, by just saying it the right way. Trust me, it's a gift that not everyone has in life, but I think it's something that all of us can work on to make the world a little bit better place. And finally, I'm going to end with a Proverbs 12:16, and I reverse engineered my book about 5 or 6 years ago and found out that every one of my so-called theories was written in the Bible. And I will in the future get into how strong my faith is for being positive and successful. You'll notice the title of this channel is Success, Hope, and Encouragement. And that means a lot to me, and I'm going to get into those. But every one of these theories was written in Proverbs, so there's nothing new. I just think I have a way of explaining how I've used these in my life, and hopefully how we can add some of these habits to your life to make your life and other people's lives that you're surrounded by much better as well. So Proverbs 12:16, losing your temper is foolish. Ignoring an insult is smart. But I want you to start remembering that word hard or difficult. It's difficult to have that force field on, to let those insults bounce off of us. But if we're truly going to get to that better life and that what I'm going to call success path, these are part of the tricks that you're going to have to start instituting in your life. And trust me when I say you're going to find harmony by just controlling your good karma and your bad karma. Easier said than done, but it starts here. So I charter all of you that have a bad temper, that are saying things that you regret, that are bringing your badness into other people's lives, that you don't have to. You can control it. And hopefully some of these little tips that I showed you today will help you out. So we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.